So now, dude, resale prices are tanking. These went from being hyped to bricks. Like, what are we gonna do? Which I'm over here scrolling through my Twitter feed, by the way. Salute to everybody for tuning in. Hope you guys are feeling well. I come across this post right here. So it's talking about Jordan 1 Union, the Chicago Shadow joints, going for near retail, right? Now, remember, this sneaker dropped earlier this year, back in February. Like, these joints had everybody in the chokehold. Everybody was looking to get their hands on these. Like, pre-launch, the energy for this sneaker was going absolutely crazy. So when you talk about Union and Jordan brand, they've been doing their thing for a while. You know, some of the hottest collaborations from the brand dating back to the Jordan 1s to the 4s. They've also thrown in some more kind of experimental pairs into the mix here, but sneakerheads always love a good Union Jordan collaboration, which that first pair of ones dates back to 2018. So when you talk about this latest release, the ones that dropped earlier this year, this is kind of like Jordan brand giving the people what they want, right? Or Union giving the people what they want. Think about it like in Hollywood, right? Rather than coming with like a brand new, all original flick, which they're investing a whole bunch of money into, like just hit the people with a sequel, right? Or even better yet, like drop a remake. That'll make a whole bunch of money. Music industry, right? Rather than coming with an all new original song that takes a whole bunch of money, just hit them with a sample, something that's familiar, right? It's a guaranteed hit. And when you talk about this, I mean, when you compare this to what Union dropped back in 2018, like it's the same theme. You're taking two different OG Jordan releases, bringing them together like Frankenstein with the little stitching in the middle, right? This should be a guaranteed hit. So why is this post talking about these are going for damn near retail? Like, what's happening here? Look at the prices, right? This is the shoe which Jordan 1s are retailing. This pair was what, like $220 or something like that? And as far as the resale prices, for example, size 12, $238. Again, this is StockX, so you're gonna have people in the comments talking about StockX sells fakes and all that, which I understand, but we're trying to kind of gauge a market value. You can factor in GOAT, which the price will probably be a little bit higher, but what I'm trying to get at is these aren't selling for over $1,000, $2,000 like the pairs back in 2018 were. Now, why doesn't the demand seem to be as high as these were previously, right? When you talk about resellers, they're talking about the sneaker as far as this clip, which has been going viral. This comes from a resale shop, which this owner, he said that the reason that this price is tanking so much is that these Unions are too similar to previous releases. We've also had pairs like the Jordan 1 Lost and Found. So he's saying the colorway is too similar. You're also gonna have that conversation about Jordan 1s being dead and everything, which, what do y'all mean by Jordan 1s being dead, right? Because when you talk about trends, I feel like the Jordan 1 was probably one of the more trendier sneakers, you know, in the footwear scene from like 2015 through 2020, but trends change, right? Other brands, they've stepped in with their other retro sneaker offerings and everything. You got all the bootlegs, plus Jordan brand has kind of oversaturated the market themselves, right? So when you talk about trends, they come and go. At one point, like the Jordan 1 was the hottest model. You know, it's probably gonna come back as trends always seem to repeat themselves. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't really predict the future and everything. So when you talk about Jordan 1s being dead, it's probably just not as trendy to the maxes. Like what I'm saying is like, not everybody's outside rocking Jordan 1s anymore. Like people are wearing different type of sneakers, but that's not what this entire conversation is about. It's about these Unions, right? Which when you compare this to say something like the Nigel Sylvesters, the Awake Jordan 5s, like why are those shoes bringing in such high resale value markups versus a shoe like this, which is going for pretty much just around retail, right? When you talk about this shoe, these dropped through Union. They had a couple exclusive access drops through the sneakers app, if I'm not mistaken, but these didn't really just drop through other retailers. So I think this is actually a sign that maybe Union did a great job of actually getting these on the feet of people that were looking to rock these, and not so much resellers kind of controlling the entire market and controlling the demand and everything. And then again, I feel like they probably just dropped a whole bunch of pairs of these, right? When you talk about the Nigels limited release, right? A lot of hype surrounding those Awake Jordan 5s. You guys already know how limited those were, plus other releases which were limited. It's always gonna drive up crazy resale prices. So I just feel like they dropped a lot of pairs of these, which is a great thing, because at the end of the day, this whole conversation really doesn't matter, because this is a great shoe. If you want these, like, these are a dope shoe, they're obtainable, right? So don't let the internet fool you talking about just because a shoe doesn't have a whole bunch of resale and all that, that it's not a dope sneaker. Because if y'all were rocking with the 2018 joints back then, like, I can see why you wouldn't rock with these, right? Which also leads into another conversation about Jordan brand collaborators, because we talked about Awake, which is kind of like the new hype collab, limited release, right? We talked about Nigel Sylvester, again, really hype. And then we're gonna talk about Amon Manier, right? Because when you look at these drops, right? back when those threes popped out years back, those were like the most hype. They were the hot new collaborator on the scene. This was an exclusive limited drop back in 2021. We're talking about this pair of threes, right? Really cool, kind of like a pre-aged vintage, but premium type of feel to them, right? Packaging was dope, but throughout the years, people would complain that they've kind of just rinsed and repeated, dropped the same kind of thing. Maybe some of the similar conversations that we're hearing about these union collaborations. I don't really know, but I thought this is what y'all wanted, but then again, y'all want something different, right? It doesn't make any sense, because let's just say, for example, like Travis Scott, right? He used to drop a new pair like reverse mocha fragments or something like that looked just like something he dropped previously, but with just like a slight tweak. People would still go crazy for those. So again, it kind of comes back to that conversation of just like hype and limited exclusivity, right? I feel like if a shoe is limited, it's gonna bring in that crazy resale, but if a sneaker actually drops with a fair amount of stock and it still sells out, I still look at it as a success, which is why you see longevity for collaborators like Ama Manier. Even though every release might not instantly sell out, for the most part, it seems like these joints are moving, you know, with a few exceptions here and there. That's why a collaboration like Union, they've had a long success, right? When you talk about this shoe, although it's not bringing in the crazy resale prices, they still sold out. People are rocking these in the streets. People were enjoying these shoes. Remember pre-launch, how excited the energy behind this shoe, like, don't switch up on it now just because these joints don't have crazy resale value. I feel like they just made so many pairs. They were trying to do the right thing for the people. So it's like, we complain when there's not enough pairs, and then we're gonna complain, you know, when there's just too many pairs. It's just the conversations, you know, between sneakerheads and everything, which there's no really wrong or right answer. I'm just trying to kind of give you guys my interpretation through my lens. So as far as the bigger conversation overall, dope collaborations from Jordan Brand this year, from the Unions, like we mentioned, Awake, Nigel, so many other ones, right? Ama Manier, so many dope collaborations. But at the end of the day, I really think it's really all about the Jordan models, right? These collaborators, they come and go. When they're new, they're fresh, they're hot, it's exciting. When the releases are limited, people want to always get something they can't have. But I really think at the end of the day, it's about these Jordan models, right? From the 4s, the 1s, the 12s, I'm just talking about the pairs pictured here, the 3s. I just think it's these classic timeless models that people have just grown attached to throughout the years. And when you talk about these collaborations, they bring a little more excitement. They spice things up. Sometimes they, you know, bring in some unique design elements, which really, you know, create some noise here in the sneaker space. So at the end of the day, it's really all about just rocking what you like. Don't let these resale conversations fool you about a sneaker being not hot, because before these drop, people were talking about sneaker of the year, all that good stuff, and now that we got prices going for around retail, they're talking about these ain't hot anymore. Like, make it make sense. So enough rambling, man. Let me know what you guys think. I'll catch y'all later for the latest updates. Stay safe, stay blessed. I'm out. Love.